It's been an unusual NFL season, with teams like the New York Jets and Giants both playing high above expectations with records over 500, while the two reigning Super Bowl winners are desperately struggling to find their rhythm in their losing seasons. Welcome to Penn State Sports Night. I'm Michael Landis alongside Kenny Ojikere and Logan Bourandas, and we are here to deliver some of our takes on which NFL team is trending towards missing the playoffs and which team is trending towards making the playoffs. We are halfway through the NFL season and have gotten a good look at which teams look like competitors and which ones look like frauds. Kenny, I'm coming to you first. Who is the team that you think right now is trending towards making the playoffs?
I think the Dolphins are going to trend towards making the playoffs. They're sitting at 6-3. They're on a 3-game win streak. They are in the best division in the NFL. The AFC East has been spectacular. You have all teams above 500. But I like the Dolphins the best out of that, outside of the Bills, obviously, because the Dolphins, they made some noise over the trade deadline. They picked up Bradley Chubb. He's a former Pro Bowl pass rusher. So although I haven't been so high on him, at the end of the day, you still add a Pro Bowl-like pass rusher. You add that alongside Jalen Phillips. That helps you pressure the QB. As we all know, pressuring the QB is one of the most important things in football. You see the Super Bowl, the recent Super Bowls, you saw the Chiefs weren't able to protect Patrick Mahomes. That cost them. The Bengals weren't able to protect Joe Burrow. That cost them. So bolstering that pass rush will always go a long way. They also picked up Jeff Wilson. He came from the 49ers. He also played with Raheem Mostert back when the 49ers went to the Super Bowl a couple of years back. So the Dolphins now have a running back tandem, and Jeff Wilson, he already came in and put in an impact. He put in a receiving touchdown. He averaged around 6 yards per carry on 9 carries. I love the Dolphins. Tua, he's had a lot of hate. He's had a lot of questions in the beginning of his career, but he now has a coach who supports him. Mike McDaniels has been amazing. I think he could be a Coach of the Year candidate. Mike McDaniels, he's been able to bring hope behind Tua and bring hope to this Dolphins team. Tua, he's been amazing. Why? Because he has who I think is the best receiver in NFL football right now in Tyreek Hill. He leads the league in receptions. He leads the league in yards. And you pair that with Jalen Waddle, I think he's a top 10 guy. I think the Dolphins are really trending upwards, and I think they make the playoffs.
You know, Kenny, I like what you said about the AFC East being one of the top divisions in football. And I'm going to talk about a team that beat the Dolphins, like you were saying, in the New York Jets. And just the stretch that they've had to open up this season, a stretch that a lot of people were saying was probably going to be their hardest stretch of the season. They came out of that with a 6-3 record heading into their bye week, and they've done so with a balanced attack on both sides of the ball. Their defense specifically looks like one of the top in football with their secondary duo of Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed exceeding all expectations and leading them to this record that they're at right now. And that front seven has looked really well so far as well. Quinnen Williams is taking a big step up, the former first-round pick from a couple years ago, leading the charge there. C.J. Mosley making his return, second year back from his injury. He's been leading that linebacker duo as well. This Jets defense has exceeded all expectations this year with Robert Saleh, the defensive-minded head coach, taking that next step up in his second year on the job. And speaking of second year on the job, after Zach Wilson's tough performance in the loss to the Patriots, a lot of people wrote him off. But in that game against the Buffalo Bills last week, he just had to be efficient to win that game, and he was just that. He had the one turnover on the fumble, but that's all he did in the turnover department, as that run game really picked things up, especially when the game got late. Even though Breece Hall is out for this season, they're able to turn around with GM Joe Douglas. They were able to make a trade for James Robinson, who's been great for several years from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Him and Michael Carter performed really well, especially in that last drive to help give the Jets the lead. If the Jets can continue to be efficient with that receiving core for Zach Wilson, he's got Garrett Wilson throwing it to him, or catching passes from Zach Wilson right now, alongside Corey Davis, who missed the Bills game, Elijah Moore, he's on the team for at least this year, and Braxton Berrios. It's an all-around talented Jets team that could make some noise with a lighter schedule on tap with teams like the Bears, Lions, and Jaguars for their next couple games. So they're 6-3 right now. They have what it takes to make a run and make the playoffs for the first time in a really long time and end what is the longest playoff drought in the NFL right now.
Yeah, Logan, I would definitely have to agree with that. I mean, we've seen what the Jets can do this year. I think they've shocked a lot of people. They have a very young defense, and it's very promising. But obviously on the offensive side, losing Breece Hall and Elijah Vera Tucker was huge for them. So we're going to have to see if they can bounce back. But that defense will definitely take them places. And, Kenny, going back to what you were saying about the Dolphins, absolutely agree. I mean, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are just a dynamic duo that have helped Tua explode this year. And, it'll be interesting to see how their defense develops because I think their offense is amazing. They're going to go everywhere this year. I think they're a top 3 offense in the league, honestly, but they can't go anywhere if that defense doesn't pick it up. So I think that addition of Bradley Chubb, like you were saying, was huge for them. So I'm going to love to see what they can do down the stretch. But definitely the Jets and Dolphins definitely think they're 2 competitors for AFC wildcard spots.
Calling it right now, I see the Dolphins edging out the Jets in a close battle to the playoff berth.
Yeah, I think it'll be really close. That division is really tight. The Dolphins and Jets do meet one more time. This time, maybe Tua will actually play in this matchup, so it should be a fun game to watch between those 2 teams.
Absolutely. The AFC is just stacked this year, so it'll be really interesting to see how everything comes down to it. But now I want to go over to a team that we think will not make the playoffs, that they're trending in the wrong direction right now. So, Kenny, I'll throw this one back over to you.
Yeah, right now I'm just not so sold on the Cincinnati Bengals. They're currently 5-4, and 4 of those wins you saw them beat the Panthers just now. They beat the Falcons and they beat the Saints, and they beat the Dolphins where we saw Tua go down in the first half. So I'm not so much impressed by their wins so far. And then on top of that, Jamar Chase, he's out for another, 4 to 6 weeks. He is a top 5 receiver, I think, in football. You take away that electric, you take away that number 1, you take away Joe Burrow's favorite target dating back to LSU. And then I think that the Bengals, they have kind of a difficult schedule coming up. You see teams like the Bucks, you see the Chiefs, you see the Titans, you see the Ravens, you see the Browns, who are going to get Deshaun Watson back. You see the Steelers. While people may think that's a cakewalk, I'll have to say week 1, the Steelers did best the Bengals, and guess who the Steelers are getting back? They're getting back T.J. Watt. So this might not be a cakewalk for the Bengals. I'm expecting a Steelers upset possibly too. It's hard, and even if I'd say Jamar Chase's absence is going to play a huge role. That week 1 game, Jamar Chase carried the offensive load an insane amount, and they're going to be without him. And then even with Jamar coming back, teams' defenses are going to adjust. Jamar Chase is no longer a rookie. He's an established top 10 receiver in the league. So you're going to see defenses in too high. You're going to see defenses they know what to expect when it comes to Jamar Chase. They're going to want to take away that goal ball. And you take away Joe Burrow's favorite throw, it's going to be not so easy for him. He's going to have to adjust. Like I said again, that play calling on offense has been rather suspect. It hasn't been the greatest. Why? Because they can't just throw the ball up to Jamar Chase. So the offense has got to pick it up. We know the offensive line is terrible. Even though they spent all that money this offseason, it hasn't paid dividends yet. That offensive line has not been able to gel. They're going to have to improve that run game as we see defenses go back into too high. So if that run game doesn't pick up, what are they going to do? We know it's a passer's league, so you're going to have to try to change it up if you want to make a deep run. So I think that the Bengals are going to trend down. I think they're going to miss the playoffs, actually.
I really like that argument. I'm going to shift mine over to the NFC and show them some love, or I guess lack thereof in this case. Talk about the Green Bay Packers, and it's been a difficult ride for them, to say the least. They have taken a huge step back from the seasons that we're used to with Aaron Rodgers leading the charge. He has not looked the same this year, and we saw that on full display against the Detroit Lions, throwing red zone interceptions like we've never seen before in that game. And even when Aaron Rodgers hasn't looked like himself, that run game, which has been really good with Aaron Jones and even A.J. Dillon, kind of a two-headed backfield, that hasn't been the same as well. And that's caused the Packers offense to look like one of the worst we've seen in recent years. And yes, losing Devontae Adams does hurt a lot at receiver, and he's not doing the best himself over in Las Vegas in terms of team success. And the Packers didn't trade for a wide receiver. They made offers for guys like Chase Claypool, DJ Moore, even Darren Waller at tight end, but they were unable to get any of those guys. Came up empty, and it's paying its dividends as you see the Minnesota Vikings taking a huge step up. They're leading that division in the NFC North like there's no tomorrow. There's really no one contesting for that division as well. And there's a lot of other stronger contenders for those wild card spots. That NFC East, we talk about the AFC East being really good. That NFC East has looked really good as well. They'll probably take 2 of those wild card spots, and that's a lot of less opportunities for the Packers to kind of sneak in, and they have to find something soon. They've been on a long losing streak. I mentioned they just lost to the Lions, and it was a really close game. The Lions have not looked the best themselves. They need to figure things out, too. The defense has taken a huge step back as well. Rashawn Gary now out for this season, got hurt in that Lions game. And I don't know where you can go about fixing the Packers. They didn't do anything at the trade deadline. They're not really used to spending money in free agency, just kind of wasting away Aaron Rodgers' final years in Green Bay.
Yeah, Logan, I mean, exactly your last point right there. I think it's time. I think we all know that it's the end of Aaron Rodgers' time. You know, the Packers are due for a rebuild. It's been like this, and after trading away Devontae Adams, they just simply don't have it anymore. And it just seems like after that game on Sunday, it just didn't even seem like Rodgers wanted to be playing, honestly. And I think we all need to admit it's Jordan Love era. I think it has to start now. I think you have to give him an opportunity, and the Packers just have to rebuild because this just isn't working. You know, they're not going to go anywhere. Even if next year they try to build back, get Rodgers some receivers, it's still not going to work. I think that they have to move on right now because the Packers aren't it, so I think they got to start that rebuild. And Kenny, going back to what you were saying about the Bengals, absolutely agree. I have thought the Bengals have been overrated since they made the Super Bowl last year. You know, I think obviously they made it, right? You give them credit, but it was a lucky run if you look at it. They still have so many holes on their team, it's not even funny. Their offensive line is a joke. I mean, they can't protect Burrow to save his life. And, you know, their secondary on defense it's getting killed every game. I mean, they blow out the Panthers this week, but who cares? It's the Panthers. You know, the Panthers are a rebuilding team, really young. They just don't have it. I think that when you look at the Bengals, they have a lot of explosiveness. You know, when Chase is on the field, they're great. Burrow is great. But Chase can't be their whole team. Like you're saying, they can easily double team him. Teams figure out how to guard people. They figured out how to guard Jefferson better, you know? Justin Jefferson has been locked up better this year. I just can't see it as much. So, you know, I think the Bengals still have a lot of holes to fill on their team, but I could definitely see them missing the playoffs. So I think it'd be great. But personally, don't see the Bengals making the playoffs. While there is still plenty of time left in the regular season for teams to get into or miss out on the playoffs, we're going to have to see who will live up to the expectations and make it to the big stage, and who will fail to make it to the postseason. That's going to do it for this edition of Penn State Sports Night. For Kenny Ojikere and Logan Bourandas, I'm Michael Landis. Thank you, and have a good night, everyone.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for tuning into this edition of Penn State Sports Night. We hope you liked that segment.
And we're sure there's other Penn State Sports Night segments that you are going to love as well. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content.
And check us out on social media for updates and behind-the-scenes clips and pics. Follow us on Twitter at PSSN TV and on Instagram at PSU Sports Night to keep up with all the action.
For all of us here at the Belisari Media Center, we are
Penn State Sports Night.